Hey guys, today we have a X1 Carbon disassembly video. This is my own device, so excuse the copious amounts of stickers anyway. So I am missing some screws in the back, but you shouldn't. Very bad, very bad. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. And the only tools you need is just a fine point screwdriver and a thicker one for any strip screws that you may have, as I do. So let's start taking off the back panel. And I'm just going to make sure you're still able to see relatively well. I'm going to fix the microphone a little bit. Sorry for the noise. Go. And then for the back panel, you want to go from the hinges, and then you want to basically, because there's J-hooks on the end of the side closest towards you, so you want to tuck them in and then pull this way. Here, click, and pull straight up. And when it's at a 90-degree angle, you can take it off. And there you go. Move my water bottle. Okay, so now make sure there, of course, before you do anything really, make sure the computer's off. So if you had space, nothing. And now we can take the battery. So what you want to do for the battery is it should click as soon as you clip it out. So you just pull up, you hear the clip, and then you push it away from you, and then you just take it out. Just like that. Now let's take the screws out for the battery. Make sure you're able to see that. You are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. And these are all the same length. So let me put this, I can put these over here. And it's the same for the motherboard screws as well. There's only 2 screws that are really unique, and they have their own respective holes, so it's pretty intuitive. Okay, and then you should just be able to take the battery out. There you go. And this is the battery. And then this is the part number. Call it out, L18 M4P72. So set the battery aside, and then now we can take the peripherals out. We can start with just taking this daughter board just because it's easier. So it should be 2 screws here. One here, and one here. And we'll set that off to our left, just so we can keep it semi-sorted. Okay, and then we could take this ribbon cable out for the data lines. So for these connectors, all you need to do is just click the ring out in place by just pulling straight up. And then you should be able to just pull it out as straight as possible. And then now we can take the daughter board out. Okay, and then now we can disconnect more peripherals, so we can take out the keyboard ribbon cable. And then you just pull it straight out. Same thing with this cable as well. There you go. And then we could disconnect the speakers. And this is the, as some would like to call, the timing battery that I will unplug next, or the CMOS battery, and then we can take the wiring out of its route. And then we'll leave the CMOS battery connected just because I don't want to reset the timer. So we just get a plastic spudger, and then we can pry this out. And then we can disconnect the keyboard cable, ribbon cable, along with the touch sensor. So keep these hanging out. Then we can disconnect the WLAN or the LAN, whichever you prefer. And then we can take it out here. So we leave these hanging out on the sides. And then we can take the LCD ribbon cables out. There's two. There's a set, so there should be two. So there you go. And same for this type of connector. We just pull it as straight as possible. And it should just come out easily, I should say. Same with this one. And then there's black tape on both sides. And then there's also tweeters in this machine. So there's as you can see in the grill, I will show you in a moment when we open this up. As soon as we take this tape out, there you go. Make sure it's not folded, so I'm going to place it back in place. There you go. It's good enough. So then we can take the LCD connector out, make sure it's not terribly kinked when you tuck it out. Same for this side. There you go. Okay, and then we can also see the tweeters here. These are the tweeters, and then we'll disconnect this one. It's all connected through a single line. They're in series, as this one is for this speaker, as you can see. So all we need to do is just disconnect this for the tweeters. There you go. And then now, I think I'm forgetting anything else. So now I think everything should be disconnected from the board. So now we can disconnect or unscrew the board. But just in case, before we do anything, we can unscrew the speakers just in case you need to replace them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. And we can go from right to left, or whichever you prefer. We can then take the wiring out of its route. Just keep a small mental note just to make sure you know how to route it back again if you do replace the speakers, because sometimes these do go bad. Although not common. Okay, so now we can unscrew the motherboard, and then I'll show you where the screws are. So there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 screws, if I count correctly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there should be 9 screws, and there's 2 special screws here. I'll show you what those look like. And this isn't screwed in all the way, but regardless, and it's advisable to go in a star pattern when you're going through the motherboard screws, just so it relieves the pressure evenly, especially for MacBook screws, or the Mac motherboard screws, I should say. And this should be coming up on the last screw. Okay, so now we should be able to lift so you go from left to right, and then when you come at a 45-degree angle, roundabout, if I'm missing the screw, there you go. So then we wiggle this out, make sure not to break anything. There you go, and it should just come right out. This is the underside of the board. Should be relatively clean. And then here's the part number if needed. I'll call it out. It is 49119F0111X, and then the motherboard number I'll put in the description. And then we'll set this aside. And then now next, we would take the motherboard, or not the motherboard, the keyboard I should say. But these have tons and tons of screws that we just don't have time for in this video. Then if you do want to take the mousepad out, just the mousepad, not the clickers, the thumb clickers, there's 4 screws here. There's one right under this black tape here. It should be right here. And then 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one would be here. And then now we're going to go onto the hinges / LCD screen. And then there's 3 on each side, so 6 in total. It's also advisable that you unscrew them at a 90-degree angle, just so that it's easier to take it out as soon as you're done. I think something fell. Something important? No, I don't think so. Okay, so let's continue. Coming up on the last screw here. There you go. So now we should be able to take the LCD screen out by just pushing away from you. And I believe there may be more screws. Nope, nothing at all. So it should be as simple as, oh, there you go. Cool. So then this would be the keyboard assembly, with the mouse would most likely be separate, so you might have to replace the new keyboard with the new mousepad and the touch sensor, which the screw would be right here. Okay, so let's put it back together. This is what the LCD screen would look like if you get the whole assembly, minus stickers. So now you should be able to take this and put it back the same way we got it out, 90-degree angle. Make sure the pins line up correctly and you're not over or under any wires, of course. And we'll just put them in here with this screwdriver, just as more magnetic. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to put 2 on each side, just so it's safe to close the hinge. Or, don't follow what I said, you should put all of the screws in before you use the hinges on this machine, or any machine really. Okay, there you go. Now we can close the machine, flip it over, make sure these are nice and tight, just finger tight. Okay, good. Now we can put the motherboard back in. Same way we got it out, 45-degree angle. And if you ever need to take out the SSD, there's only one screw, of course. Then you want to angle it in, and then there's should be a pin you need to worry about, but if not, it's okay. Make sure things are tucked out. Go. Perfect. Put the CMOS battery back in. Then we'll put the screws in for the motherboard, and we'll do that with this. We'll put the LCD connectors back in, make sure the tape is okay before we do so. Lie over the tape. It doesn't need to be perfect as long as it just holds stuff in. There you go. Plug in the speaker, tweeter. Then same way we got the LCD connector out, you just put it as straight as possible. Same on the other side. connect the LAN cables in, or the Wi-Fi card, whichever. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. Okay, keyboard cable in. With the mouse connector in, snaps in place, and then the touch sensor, the fingerprint sensor. Okay, and then we will put the daughter board back in. With their respective screws. Same way we put the OCD connectors in, straight as possible. Now we have everything connected, should be, except the speakers, of course. So we can line up the speakers, and then we can just put the screws in and then route the cables back in. Nice and set in place. Brought this in. I'll route this cable in its place with the correct tool. we go. Now we will put in the battery, and then the last thing should be the just checking if it turns on, and then it should be pretty straightforward how to put everything else back together. So we're just going to connect the battery and then check if it turns on, and then should be good to go. I think the battery may or may not be dead. There you go. Check if the battery is recognized, just so I know I didn't fry the battery. But as you can see, it turns on once it boots up. It's recognizing the SSD. And the battery current sense should work. There you go. And let's hover over the battery. Now let's just put the pin number in. There you go. So it's recognizing the battery, so everything works fine. So hope you guys like this video. If you guys found it interesting, or you guys want to see more of this, you can subscribe, and have a good one.